Hey guys, it's been a while. Haven't posted anything in a while. We've been a little bit busy with all sorts of things, health issues, and just getting life back on track. This area was used by the military, and where I'm standing here now, I've come into this little rotunda, basically just to get out of the wind a bit, because we're going to get a bit of wind noise on the vid if I wandered around a little bit too much. There's a lot of people here because we're here during the daytime, so they're using all the different ovals here. There's probably about 4 or 5 different areas people are using at the moment. So I thought this would be a nice little spot just to give a little bit of an experiment a go. I wanted to try something different. Now the thing is, if spirit are around, they're around during the day or during the night. It doesn't really matter. If they want to communicate with you, they will communicate with you at any time, day or night. Okay? So we'll dispel that myth first off, that spirit only come out at night time. That's very, very untrue. Now, this little experiment, as I was saying before, this is a very, very, it's a big area, big park, and it was used for different things. Firstly, in the 1800s for mining. So there's a lot of old mining energy here, and there's a lot of old tunnels that are running through this whole area. So, quite often, being a sensitive and a medium, we have a bit of a walk through here, particularly at night time, and you'll see some of the old spirits still hanging around. We've had a chat to a couple of them and made some friends with a couple of them as well. So, you know, it's pretty cool. We're only virtually living across the road, so it's very easy access for us. So I've been here plenty of times. Also, back in the 1940s, this whole area was an army base. So there was reportedly about 8,000 people who came through this whole area and sort of encamped here. There is a small airport where I believe they were doing some training stuff as well. That's not far from here. So they were using this area as a base area and for training. It was also in this area right here, a little bit to that side of me, there's some foundations in some very, very high grass at the moment. So I'm not going to go wandering through, but the foundations are from an old army hospital sort of site. And yeah, so it's got a bit of history here. There's quite a bit of history. Now, what I wanted to do today, I got my K2 and I got a couple of things in my pocket and bits and pieces, but I want to stray away from them a little bit because do you remember the movie Poltergeist? And do you remember you know, a lot of people would have seen that movie, and if you've seen that movie, you would remember the section where Caroll-anne is sitting in front of the TV and spirit is speaking through the TV with her. Now, that's not such a silly idea, because we all know that spirit can use electronics and have used radios and TVs and all sorts of other electronic gear to actually communicate with us. So the whole concept of Caroll-anne sitting there talking to spirit in front of a TV is not really a very strange one, you know, well, not to me anyway, because we, as paranormal investigators, have used all sorts of manner of electronic gear to try and speak with spirit. Now, the thing I wanted to try out was that I happened to acquire a very old radio. Now, I couldn't tell you what date this dates back to, but it's a rather interesting one, because I remember back, I'm a 70s kid, okay? So I remember back in the 70s, I had a shortwave radio, and I used to love listening at night time to all the different shortwave stations, worldwide stations and all sorts of stuff. And occasionally I'd pick up bits and pieces that were not radio. And I always wondered about them. So, like, here I was, an early teen, playing with all these shortwave radios and things. A little bit later on, played with CB radios, of course, and all that jazz. But the thing is, over radio, spirit tend to communicate. Now, with this particular radio, it has an AM, an FM band. It also has an air band, and with the air band you can scan through the frequencies, and if there is a plane flying overhead, you can sometimes hear the pilot talking to one of the airport towers. It also scans through, there is a shortwave band on it, and a weather band, and on the weather band itself you can actually pick up ambulances, police, fire, all that sort of stuff. But there is also a couple of curious channels here, which is TV1 and TV2. So this is where we go into the Caroll-anne segment of the video and a bit of the experimentation. Now, when I was a kid, our TV stations, once they went off air, you'd have a lot of static. You'd have nothing but static coming through. You'd have like a bit of a blog, like I showed you at the start of the vid. You'd have a little sort of a thing come up on the TV, and you'd have a whole heap of static. And sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night, because I had a black and white TV back in those days, a little portable one, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and here's this load of static coming through the TV, and I'd sometimes think that I was hearing voices. And of course I thought, just hearing things, it's just imagination. But was it spirit that were actually trying to come through and communicate with me? Because it wasn't very long after that, that's when my spiritual development started coming up. So anyway, I have two bands here, which is TV1 and TV2. And I kind of figured out there was a station that on the TV that after a certain time would close off, and I'd hear a little bit of all of that, and I kind of figured out roughly where the band was. So I'm actually going to turn this radio on, and I'm going to turn it on to TV2, and we're going to see if we can get something just straight off the static off of the radio. So I'm going to turn it on.
Under those officers who...
I'll change the bands. Also got a VHF band on this one as well as a shortwave. So just changing it to TV2. Now we're going to ask if there's any spirit here, particularly if you know me, if you've seen me before. If you'd like to come through and talk to us, please do so. We'd love to hear from you. We come with a lot of respect. And we'd love to hear your story. If you'd like to speak to us, you can use this radio. Anyone around at all who'd like to come through? You try and put your voice on this radio. I thought I heard something like bottles clinking. You know how you clink two bottles together? Is there anyone from the army days? Anyone from the military days here? You'd like to come through? Any of the old miners? Excuse me. I bet you had froggy throats too, especially in the winters here. The winters would have been pretty cold. Any of the old miners here would like to come up and say hello? I think with the longer you stay here, the more chance there is to actually pick something up. You never know. I know on these radios you can actually pick up CB radios, particularly from cars that have got them in them, are passing by. So you can get a little bit of interference from CB radios and that. But I think I've got a pretty good frequency that sort of cans all of that. If anyone at all would like to come through. Put your energy towards this aerial, towards this device I've got in my hand, and you might be able to speak through it. My name's Rick. Can you tell me what your name is? I've walked through this area many times. You've probably seen me. Have you seen me? Okay, well I don't seem to be getting much at this time, but as I said before, you know, it's worth playing around. If you've got just a normal radio, you can set it to any band, or you set it to anything, anywhere on your radio where you've got a lot of static, and see if you can get some spirit energy coming through. You know, a lot of times when you go out and attempt things, you don't really get too much at all, but there are times when you might get lucky. So I'm going to play with this one in our next few investigations and just see if we can get anything through just on a static band. I've got a lot of different bands I can try. You might like to try that too. Grab any sort of radio, particularly if you've got you know, a shortwave radio, or if you've got even AM, FM bands. Just set it to you know, in between stations, and just see if you can pick something up. You never know, you might get lucky. Also got a K2. Which is not worth doing right now, because as you can see, because I've got a microphone and headset on. The microphone is affecting the K2. So, not worth playing with the K2 right now. Not while I've got the headset on. There you go. And this is what you've got to watch out for too. Like sometimes electronic equipment can set off the electronic equipment that you are trying to use to communicate with spirit. Alright. One more thing I want to try. And I've just got the old trusty S-Box out. So I'm going to turn this on.
S-Box. Scanning FM.
Turn her up a bit. See if we can get anything on the S-Box. Hello. I'm actually going to change it to AM. It's a little bit more noisier, but you never know. Alright, anybody around that would like to say hello? Not sure what that said. Can you tell us your name? Number one? Who's number one? Are you number one? What's your name? Were you one of the old miners here? 400. 400? Was there 400 people here? 400 miners? 400 army people? Were you a part of 400? Sweet. Sweet's not a common word for back in the early days. How long? What year can you remember last? It was long ago. Did you say long ago or not long ago? Did you pass away long ago or not long ago? Something about 4. Have you lived in the area for a while? 2 days. Is that all you can remember? You can remember 2 days. Were you here for 2 days before you died? I guess. Okay, were you involved in the mining days? Were you mining here? Were you involved in the military that was here? You know I'm standing in the hospital area. Were you part of the hospital? Or were you in the... Nice. Or were you in the hospital as a patient? if you can you step forward? Some of us. Okay. Were you part of 400? You mentioned 400 before. What was the 400 about? Some of the worst. Is that some of the worst days? Some of the worst people? I didn't quite get that. Can you repeat that for me? Couldn't make out if that was 73 or cemetery. Are you buried in a cemetery here? Or a cemetery close by? Didn't quite get that one either. Could you repeat that for me? Can you tell me your name? My name's Rick. Yeah, I know. I thought he said skinny cunt. Okay, yeah, fair enough. I'll take that. Yeah. I think you're a funny bugger. Okay, I like you. You're a funny bugger. What's your name? Can you tell me your name? No, I didn't quite get that. Can you tell me your name again? Sounds nice. What sounds nice? Okay, did you like this area? When you were around this area, did you like this? Sweet? Yeah, okay. Alright, might just turn this one off. Thank you for talking to me. Is there anything you'd like to say before I turn it off? Okay, thanks for talking to me. Cheeky bugger called me a skinny cunt. Oh, well, that's spirit for you. I mean, you know, they are human. But they are words that are, some of those words that sort of came out were not really from an older era, you know, definitely not from the mining era. So I'd say if that was spirit, I'm not saying it is, but if that was spirit that was coming through, it definitely sort of a more modern era, like the 70s, 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s or something like that. I'm not going to hang around here too much more, but I think thing is, I'm not going to use any of the other gear or anything, but the thing was for today is that basically if spirit are around, they will communicate with you if they want to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. Spirit are people too. It's as simple as that. They have their choices if they either like you or they don't like you. Sometimes they get a bit curious and might come forward and might try to have a bit of a chat, and other times, yeah, it's just the way it goes. But yeah, anyway, as for the Caroll-anne, have a go with a radio, just anywhere, on any of the bands where you get a whole heap of static. Just let it go for, half an hour, Just let us sit there for half an hour and just throw out questions. Just ask Spirit to come forward, see if they can put their energy onto the radio, and just see how you go. I mean, there's so many apps and so many different types of spirit boxes out there. Most of the spirit boxes scan through radios, radio stations, so sometimes you don't know whether you're actually getting something from a radio station or not, or whether it is actually spirit. Sometimes you've got to really work hard and have really listened to figure out if it is a logical answer to your question. That's what you're looking for. But just for shits and giggles, sometimes if you've just got a radio, stick it on a vacant area on the radio station, turn the static up, and just ask Spirit if they can communicate through, with it, because they can use electronic signals, electronic gear. It's worth giving it a go. Just try for half an hour and see what you get, and let me know. And I'll certainly be taking this out with me during the next few little investigations as well. So, alright, cheers for now. Catch you later. Bye.